Hello, everyone. Today we are going to look at something really very, very important, which is the top mistakes to avoid in IELTS. So here are some tips that can help you to avoid some very, very common mistakes that people make. Let's get started. So the first one, the most important one and the most common one is not understanding the question. Right? So this is so very common, and it actually makes you get a low score despite you having had a good preparation, right? So let's have a good look at it. So what is it? What is the issue over here? It is misinterpreting the question in writing or speaking tasks, right? And giving responses that do not address the question. Right? So giving responses that do not address the question or giving incomplete responses. So basically what happens over here is we are not really able to understand the question properly. That could be because of our, maybe we could be in a big hurry, knowing the fact that I've got only about, very limited time, and hence, we kind of lose track of our thoughts, right? What is the solution to it? Carefully analyze the question and ensure your answer directly addresses all parts of the question, right? Analyze the question. Spend some time on looking at the question. How are we going to spend time? What exactly steps do we need to take is spoken about in all the classes, right? So you will get a very good idea as to how to analyze the question before you actually start writing. And that can help you, that can ensure that you are able to answer the question as per the requirement. Okay. Now here is a classic example of what can happen, right? If the task 2, we're talking about the essay question, right? If the task 2 question is plastic shopping bags contribute to the pollution of land and sea, some people think that they should be banned. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Here is the question. Now here's an example of not addressing the question appropriately or misinterpreting it would be, if we have not really understood it very well, what could go wrong is, so instead of writing specifically about plastic shopping bags, you write about the use of plastic in general. So here the question asked you about plastic shopping bags, right? But I start my essay and I talk about plastics in general. Plastics in general would be just about everything in plastic, not just shopping bags. It could be just about anything: plastic tables, plastic chairs, plastic toys, and just about everything. So what happened? You have gone totally off track, right? And we lose, a huge number of marks over here. Here's an incomplete response. It could be writing only about pollution on land and ignoring the pollution in the seas. The question also asks us, let me get back to this one. Okay, so the question asks us, plastic shopping bags contribute to the pollution of land and sea. So what have I done over here? I spoke only about pollution on land. I just ignored the sea part of it. That is incomplete response. And here again, you would lose your marks, right? Because you have not answered the question as per what was required. Or there's another option over here, or there's another way that you can create a mistake, is not stating and justifying your opinion, right? Now the question is asking you, it's an opinion question. It's asking you to what extent do you agree or disagree. So you've got to tell them, I agree, I completely agree to this, or I completely disagree to it. Or at least what you can do is I partially agree to it, right? So depending on whatever the question is, I'm not just talking about this particular question, right? So you've got to give your opinion. It's an opinion question. So what are the 3 things that can go wrong? You have not understood the question properly, right? And you, instead of talking about shopping bags, you have spoken about plastics in general. Okay, that is not understanding it properly. Then the other thing is an incomplete response, wherein you tackled only half of the question and the other half you just let go of it, you just ignored it. So that again is not a good response. And then you did not give an opinion. So there are three types of things that can happen over here. Okay. So in case you have any questions, you may put up your questions in the chat box. Or of course, you can talk to me directly also. Okay, let's move ahead. Again, now we are talking about not understanding the question in a speaking situation, in a speaking part 2 question. So here the question is asking us, describe a piece of art that you like, right? And here are all the details about it. This is what your speaking part 2 question looks like, right? And what do we do? What have I done wrong over here? Would be here, if you talk about a form of art like dancing instead of a specific piece of art, like the Mona Lisa, you would have misinterpreted the question. Now, what happens over here? The question is asking you, describe a piece of art. Okay, a piece of art would be something which is, tangible, something which is visible, something that you can hold in your hands. But art, I think about it that, okay, dancing is an art, singing is an art, mimicry is an art. Okay, I look at it from that point of view. Okay, that form of art. And I start talking about maybe dancing or maybe singing or any other thing. Now, here is a misinterpretation of the question. You have not understood the question over here. Here you had to describe a piece of art. So again, over here, the best part to do is, the best thing that you can do over here is that spend a few seconds, not a few seconds, just maybe a second or two, and to understand the question before you start answering. Right? These things are really very common and they can happen with anybody. Hence, you have to be fully prepared that, okay, if anybody can make that mistake, even I can do it, right? So the only thing I think that we can do is be very, very aware of the questions, be very, very alert while listening to the questions. Okay, let's move ahead now and look at, we are looking at the, okay, at the writing question going off topic. Now, what's an off-topic thing? Okay, let's understand that. Now, here is an example question. The question says, a line graph shows the percentage of people using different modes of transport between 1990 and 2020. That's what your writing task 1 question typically looks like. Okay, now an off-topic response, and this again is really very, very common. That's what we see all the time when we are checking assignments of the test takers, right? So what does a test taker write? Walking and cycling are much healthier options compared to driving. Governments should encourage people to adopt these modes of transport by creating more bike lanes and pedestrian-friendly areas. This is an off-topic answer. Why? Let's go ahead and have a look at it. Okay. Here's the same question. A line graph shows the percentage of people using different modes of transport between 1990 and 2020. Here's the off-topic response that we just read in the previous slide. And why is it an off-topic answer? Why is it off-topic? Okay, task 1 requires describing trends. You've got to describe trends over here and data. Okay. You don't have to give opinions or recommendations. No, those have not been asked. They are not required. They are not part of the structure of your writing task 1. Fine, we have to understand that. The correct response would be something like this, wherein you are giving all the details about the graph that you have got. Task 1 is all about writing a report. In a report, you've got to describe the graph that you see, not give suggestions. No, that is not what is the question, right? So here is what it would look like. So it is evident from the graph that between 1990 and 2020, the percentage of people walking declined steadily from 30% to 15%, while the use of cars increased significantly from 20% to 50%. So here it is important that you give the numericals, the numbers, right? So it was this and it turned into this, whatever. It could be more than the previous one or it could be less than the previous one. Then this can be considered to be a report. You are reporting information that you are seeing in that graph, right? So always remember, writing task 1, no, your suggestions are not required. What should be done, what should not be done, what was being done, no, nothing at all. It's just a report. Just write what you see. It's a report. You're a reporter. Consider yourself to be a reporter over here. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, again, a very, very important one. Ignoring word limits. Now, word limits are really very important, right? So what is the problem over here? Writing too few words or too many words in the writing tasks. Now, what happens? You've got to, okay. All right, Adarsh, we would, so Adarsh says that I'm currently facing problems in reading and writing, in true, false, not given, and fill in the blanks. Adarsh, you will really be surprised, true, false, not given is so very simple. I mean, you just have to do a little bit of practice and focused practice, right? It is really very simple. And fill in the blanks is even more simple than that. Trust me. So when you actually begin the classes, I mean, you will realize that, why was I even worried about this? Why was I getting confused about it? It just needs focused practice, right? So it's really very easy. So we'll look into that. Okay, let's get back to this. So too many words. So just stick to the recommended word count. Don't get out of your word count. It is like for the task 1, it is 150 words, which is an absolute must. If you go below 150 words, you will definitely be penalized. I mean, if you think like, okay, 148, 49, 149, it's okay. It's almost 150. It should be okay. No, it's not okay. 150 means 150. They are very, very strict about it. And we will definitely go above 150. We would target somewhere around 170 to 180 is a good word count to have. Now, there is no upper word count limit, but we do have a time limitation. So 170 to 180 is a very safe word count. No need to go beyond that. Okay, you can go up to 200 also, but the only thing is you will lose time in writing that. Okay, and yeah, task 2 is 250. Again, if you go below 250, you will get penalized. And a safe option again is around 270. Okay, that's 270 to 280, right? Okay, so writing too few words results in a lower band score for task achievement response or task achievement or task response. Yes, here is where you will lose your marks. There are these 4 parameters, right? Task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. So the task achievement is the parameter where you would lose marks if your words are less than the required number of words, right? Okay, writing excessively wastes time, which can be used more productively to focus on the quality, right? So this is what I was saying. There is no upper word count limit. However, there is no need to go beyond your word limit. You would rather spend that time that you would be writing in more number of words. It's better that you spend that time in actually getting your quality right. So if you think that, okay, you are able to finish your essay or your report writing, maybe 5 minutes before the time, I mean, spend that time in actually reviewing your work and kind of enhancing maybe the structure of sentences and stuff like that. That would be a better idea. Fine, let's go ahead from here. Okay, not proofreading. Again, we are still at the writing part, and we do not proofread, right? That is exactly what I was saying in the last slide, that it is better that you utilize the excess time, if you have it all, in enhancing the grammar part, looking at all your mistakes and correcting if there are any mistakes. If you are able to proofread, or if you put yourself in that habit of proofread, last 5 minutes, okay, you will be able to, rectify at least 50% of your grammatical errors, because most of the grammatical errors that we make in writing are actually mistakes that we have made because we have been in a hurry of writing. So those are all what do you call that, typo errors or things like that, in a hurry. So those can be rectified. Okay, so we overlook grammar, spelling, punctuation errors. These are things that can be rectified. So yeah, so the solution is reserve 2 to 3 minutes to proofread each writing task and correct the mistakes. Trust me, you'll be able to correct most of your this kind of mistakes if you are able to proofread your work. Okay, poor time management. Yes, this is another major one. Okay, you spend too much time on one section, leading to incomplete answers. Now, what happens? Now, again, like let's say, okay, Adarsh, you just put up a question saying, or you just put up a query saying that you're having trouble with your reading, parts of your reading, some questions, right? Now, reading is one place where we can really lose time. You can just lose track of your time over here. Okay, and you will have to work with time management. Otherwise, you can just go beyond that, especially in reading, because reading, you've got you've got 3 passages, and you've got 60 minutes, 1 hour, and yeah, and I mean, we just kind of lose track when you get into the reading. So time management is something that you must look at, especially in your reading and writing. For listening, you don't really need any time management because the audio is going to stop after the 30 minutes. So, I mean, your time is taken care of over there, right? But for your writing and for your reading, you must practice with a timer. Always practice with a timer. So maybe after about 2 to 3, after you've actually practiced with 4 to 5 essays or report writings and readings also, once you know that you're now comfortable with the structure for writing, and for the reading part, you're now comfortable with the types of questions, you know how to handle the questions, then you can just start timing yourself. That's an absolute must. And for time management, I personally feel that the best way to do time management, ensure that you're able to manage your time, is have lots of mock tests. Lots of mock tests, right? That's an absolute must, because a mock test is something wherein you're doing all the 4 parameters, right? Not parameters, the modules, all the 4 modules, you're reading, listening, writing, and speaking, and all in one go. And that's when you will actually come to know that, am I able to keep the time? If not, fine, we need to work on that, right? That is how you will come to know whether you're prepared for the exam or not. Okay, let's have a quick look at this one. So practice timed tests. That's what I was saying, the mock tests. Okay, now for reading, you should spend no more than 20 minutes per passage. Okay, over here, I can suggest another thing is, I mean, the first passage is supposedly the easiest one. So you can have a little less time than 20 minutes. Maybe it can be around, time yourself to around 15 to 18 minutes over here. Just keep on reducing that. And then rather, I would say, 15, 20, and 25, sorry. Now 15, 20, and 25 per passage. So you can just break it into 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and 25 minutes, so that you have the maximum time for the last reading, which is supposed to be the most difficult one, right? That is one thing you can do. Otherwise, if you're not able to do that, yes, please allocate 20 minutes per passage. Okay, writing, spend 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. This is something which is really very important for writing. Okay, we've had too many incidents wherein people were able to write really very good reports and very good essays as far as the structure, the language, everything. but they did not practice the time management. Okay, and when on the examination day, they just lost track of everything just because they were not able to manage the time. So time management is one of the most important things that you have to look at. Okay, listening, you should do quickly move to the next question after the first answer. I mean, the listening is something which is really actually very easy to score. But yes, you need practice. Okay. And when you do your practice, you will realize that, quickly moving on to the next question, looking at the keywords, being very, very attentive to what you're listening to, all that is going to help you. And listening is a high scoring module. So this is one thing, if you actually put in the required efforts, this can actually, at Yuno Learning, we have normally we have people getting an 8.5, also a band 9 for listening. So that's actually the norm. Okay, so let's look at speaking. So practice to answer section 1 questions in 2 to 3 sentences, and section 3 questions in 6 to 7 sentences. This again is practice. You will have to practice, and the best way I would say for speaking practice is use your phone, the recorder on your phone, and record your answers, record your questions as well as your answers, and listen to that recording, listen to your voice. You yourself will be able to improve yourself after you listen to your voice, because you will be able to understand that, it could be like, oh, I'm speaking too fast. My voice is so low. I'm sounding so low. Find all these things. So my pronunciation in this particular word is not good. There are so many things you're able to point out when you listen to your own voice on a recorder. Okay, let's move on from here. Okay, again, we are talking about speaking, and speaking in a monotone. Okay, so what is the issue over here? Lack of fluency or variation in tone makes your speech sound robotic. What's a monotone? Like, you're speaking in a straight line like this. I mean, it would be like, let me read this sentence to you. This one. Okay, let me read the sentence in a monotone. So, lack of fluency or variation in tone makes your speech sound robotic. I mean, imagine if I have to give you a lecture in this tone, in a straight line. Oh my God, how boring that would be. You would run away, right? You would just leave the class and run away. So that can be really monotonous and very, very boring. Okay. What should how should your tone be? A good tone would actually have these, highs and lows. It is simply like those, we listen to music all the time on our phones these days, right? So in many of these music albums, they show these lines going up and down. That is what's that called? I think the sound waves. Yeah. So the correct waves would go up and down. The ups and downs of the tone is what is a good way of speaking. Okay. So what's the solution to a monotone? Natural intonation and emphasize key points. What is intonation? Intonation is, pausing where it is required to pause, allowing your voice to, go up a little, allowing your voice to stress on a certain point. If you just heard me, I just said allowing your voice to stress on a certain point. So my voice stressed on the word stress, right? So that will actually create a very nice those sound waves, right? Up and down, the ups and downs of the voice. Okay, let's move on from here. Memorized answers. Okay, again, this is another big one. Okay, so there have been so many people, they come up with answers which they have literally memorized. And memorized answers, or those mugged up ones, we used to do that in school, but over here it's not going to work, right? Here the examiner would immediately understand that this is a memorized answer. Because what happens when we try to memorize something, we tend to forget at least 1 or 2 things in between, right? And that is where we make a mistake. The moment you forget something from a memorized answer, you are going to end up getting nervous. And the moment you get nervous, your voice will become shaky and you'll do all kinds of mistakes would start coming up. So don't get into memorized answers. Just speak the way you would in a very natural way. Okay. Okay, what's the solution? Focus on expressing ideas naturally. Express ideas naturally instead of memorizing. I mean, just speak. It's just a conversation that you're having. Look upon your speaking test as a conversation that you're having with a stranger, with an unknown person. Okay, and your examiners. One thing that I like very much about the examiners for the IELTS is that they are so very friendly. They smile at you. They make you feel very, very comfortable. Most of my students come back and tell me, oh, the examiner was so sweet. She was so sweet. She was smiling. She made me very comfortable. That's how they behave. So you are going to be at ease. And in that mode, in the ease, just have a conversation. Forget about, forget about, oh, what if my grammar goes wrong? Oh, what if my vocabulary is not good? Forget about all that. Just converse. Okay? Okay. So lack of natural flow can be easily detected. Yes. So the natural flow, so when you give memorized answers, the natural flow is going to be missing. Right? Just imagine, try it in your recorder, a memorized answer and something that you're just kind of generally talking in a very natural way without memorizing. You will realize that the memorized answer, you yourself will be able to make out, that, okay, this is memorized, right? So the examiners, of course, I mean, they've done so many tests, they would catch that within a second. Okay, now let's look at some examples. The first question over here is, what do you usually do on weekends? Right? Let's look at the answer. Okay. So here's the question. What do you usually do on weekends? A memorized answer is like, weekends are the perfect time to unwind and recharge. I spent my time engaging in productive activities like gardening, meditating, and reading motivational books. Now, what would happen over here? Okay, very nice answer. If you're able to carry it off, very nice answer. But what happens if the person asks you a question about what kind, who's your favorite author? Right? Or they actually start cross-questioning you at times. They would start, the moment an examiner knows that you are kind of giving memorized answer, they would actually start cross-questioning you. And here is where one might get caught. If you're not, now let's say you're not really into reading books and they start asking you questions about maybe, the worst question that I've heard of is they come up with a book and they say, okay, have you read this one? Right? So who's your favorite author? And then maybe, okay, fine, you remember the author of some kind of motivational book. So they would say, okay, which book have you read? Okay, now I'm not into reading books. I haven't read any book. Now what do I do? And you're caught over there. Okay, now not that it makes any difference. I mean, if you're giving memorized answer also, but only thing is it will throw you off guard, off track, and you will get very, very nervous, and then you will start fumbling and all kinds of things will start happening. Okay, now, okay. Now, failing to understand the accents in listening. Now, coming to listening, there are going to be about 3 to 4 different types of accents. One is your American accent, one is the British accent, and one is the Australian accent. And within these also, like how we have in India, we've got all kinds of different accents, the North Indian, South Indian, East Indian, West Indian, all kinds of these accents are there. Similarly, they also have accents from their various parts of the various countries, right? So many times we are not familiar with those accents, and that is when we're not able to understand, so what happens then? We just have to practice it, do a lot of listening practice. Okay, you can do your listening practice from, the audios. You'll find loads of stuff on the portal, on the Yuno Learning portal. Apart from that, there are so many other sources from where you can do your listening practice. And of course, there's always the TV. Watch some good channels. Avoid for listening practice, avoid channels which use a lot of slang and stuff like that. Use, like, I think the BBC is a good place to start with, and other such channels which use formal English language. Okay. All right. Let's move ahead from here. So what is this? Misusing vocabulary. That's another one. Overusing complex words incorrectly, that too incorrectly. Overusage of complex words, of difficult words, and that also incorrectly. Okay, here's the question. What do you like to do in your free time? Incorrect usage. In my leisure time, I relish engaging in various diverse activities, such as perusing books, going for exhilarating runs, and participating in sociable gatherings with my friends. These activities help me to ameliorate my mental health. Now, is this the language that you would speak to in your normal life? If you're speaking to anybody, maybe to a friend, to a colleague, to your boss, to anybody, right? We don't use these words in our day-to-day life. We cannot consider this to be like, perusing books has nothing to do with, it has a totally different meaning. You don't do this in leisure time, definitely not. Okay, exhilarating runs. So don't use language which is not, which sounds like not really very natural. Natural language would be something that is simple, that we use at a day-to-day basis. Okay, let's look at a better answer. So in my free time, I enjoy doing different things like reading books. Look at this, like reading books, going for runs, and hanging out with my friends. These activities help me relax and elevate my mood. So these are, such a nice answer. Simple, very simple language. So keep your language very simple. And yet, I always feel that you should focus on, on a smooth flow. Okay, rather than going for vocabulary or memorizing vocabulary, which even you may not remember at that point of time. It does happen. We've had people, I've come across people who use memorized vocabulary, and then at that particular time, they can't really remember what the word was. And they completely speak a word which it does not even exist in the English language, right? So don't let that happen to you. Just relax and be very, very natural. Okay, so lack of cohesion and coherence is example of a poor response would be, many people believe that education is important for success. There are many subjects taught in schools. It is necessary to have a good job to live comfortably. People should work hard to get ahead in life, right? So what has happened over here? We've had, like these little sentences, short sentences, which lack the clear connection between the sentences. There is no connection in between the sentences. There are no transition words. The ideas are also unrelated. Okay, why are the ideas unrelated? See, look at this. Now, many people believe that education is important for success. Sentence number one. There are many subjects taught in schools. Now, sentence number one and sentence number two, they're not related. They're totally different, right? And then again, the third sentence says, it is necessary to have a good job to live comfortably. A third point comes in over here. Now we are suddenly talking about jobs. Okay, a good job. So there is no relation between the sentences. A good, well-drafted response would look something like this. Many people believe that education is crucial for success because it provides the necessary skills and knowledge for future careers. In schools, Students learn a variety of subjects that help them to develop a well-rounded understanding of the world. Let's just stop here. So your sentence number 1 and your sentence, this is your sentence number 2, right? So sentence number 2 feels like it is a follow-up of the sentence number 1, right? It's just an extension of what sentence number 1 has been saying, right? And then we start the third sentence with the connector, moreover. So now with using the word moreover, I've just conveyed to the reader that, okay, I'm adding on some more information in the same flow. So moreover, a good education opens doors to better job opportunities, which in turn allows individuals to live more comfortably. And then I give an a closure, a conclusion to this paragraph. Therefore, working hard in education is an important step toward achieving personal and professional success. And there we have a very nicely written, a very coherent paragraph, right? That is what I meant by saying when I earlier said, go in a flow. You should pay more attention to making sure that your flow is right, both in speaking as well as in writing, right? Let's move ahead from here. Ignoring instructions. Yes, this is a very important one again. So you don't follow specific instructions like marking answers on the answer sheet in a paper-based test, or not following the instruction in reading and listening. Now, especially in your reading and listening, okay, every question is going to have an instruction at the top. You must read that instruction. It's not that, all questions are going to be, be set in a similar way, right? Like how, for example, in our board exams, when we were taking the board exams in 10th and 12th, most of the questions, not most, in fact, the entire question paper used to be like, a pattern. And we already knew that pattern before we attempted the board exam. So we knew like, question number 1 is going to be this one, question number 2 would be this, question number 3 would be this. So like we were mentally prepared. Over here, the questions are going to be, what we have done in our practice work. However, the placement of the questions is going to be different. So we don't know which question is coming up next. It's the same question. We've practiced those, but we don't know how they have placed it, right? Now, let's look at this one. Look at this. Now, in the listening and reading test, there are specific instructions on how to respond, like answer in one word only. Failing to follow these can result in answers being marked wrong, even if the content is correct, right? So sometimes they would have like, I'm just giving another example. Sometimes they would answer like, which you have, the instruction is only 2 words. And they say, which 2 subjects did so-and-so talk about, right? So I would just say this, and then I would write, and this. Now what happened? These are 3 words. These are not 2 words. So I have failed to give the correct answer. This might be correct. The answer might actually be correct, but I did not follow the rules, what was required. So I will lose marks over there, right? So the best way is dash, comma, dash, or just dash, dash. That's it. Don't bother about the rest of it. Okay, be very, very careful about the instructions. Okay. Not using a variety of sentence structures or overusing simple sentence structures. Now, this is like, in-depth grammar, which will be covered in the classes. But yes, simple sentences. What are simple sentences? Very short and to the point sentences. Okay. I keep on writing. I write a very nice essay. However, all the sentences or most of the sentences are short. Okay. So what impression does that give? They look like kind of childlike, okay, like a child has written. No, you are expected to write a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences, all 3 of them. There are 3 types of sentences, simple, compound, and complex sentences. You are expected to write all 3 of them, okay? So that is something that you will have to do, and that is something that would be covered in the classes. Okay, The next part goes on to not using a variety of sentences. Yeah, it's the same thing. Let's have a look at this. Now, overusing simple sentences. This is an example. Technology has changed the way people communicate. People use smartphones and social media to stay in touch. This is convenient for those who live far away. It can also save time compared to traditional methods. However, it may reduce face-to-face interaction. Now, if you look at this, these are all, small sentences. And they can easily be, combined very nicely with the usage of connectors, either connecting words or connecting phrases. Let's look at how it can be done. You can have a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences. Let's look at this one. So here it says, it's the same paragraph. Technology has significantly changed the way people communicate. Nowadays, people use smartphones and social media to stay connected. Notice the comma here, which is especially convenient for those living far from their loved ones. Okay. Moreover, so you're connecting word over here, it saves time compared to traditional methods such as writing letters or making long distance calls. However, while these advancements offer convenience, they may also reduce face-to-face interaction, which is important for building strong relationships. So this one looks far better than this very childish looking one. The ideas are the same. It's just been enhanced with some maybe linking words and a better flow, right? Okay, let's move ahead from here. Okay, so at Yuno Learning, we have the test preparation classes. We've got live online classes for IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, and Duolingo. We have batches from running between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So you can actually choose any slot that you like. And there are various types of programs that we have. We have an express program, a crash course, a comprehensive course, and an intensive course. You can, take your pick. You can just call these numbers. I'll just share the numbers with you. The numbers will be shared with you in the chat box. So you can just call up or you can mail us and find out which would be the best course for you. Okay, so we've had 15,000 plus students who have trained with us. We have more than 1,100 five-star Google reviews, which is something really, really wonderful. Okay, so you can also fill in this form. Here's a number given. You can call up on this number. Okay, and you can speak to someone. Now, moving on to a little more. Panic during the exam. So this is one thing that can happen to everyone. I think even if I go for any exam, even I would start panicking. That is, I think, natural human tendency. So what can help? Be thoroughly prepared. Okay, prepare yourself well. Take multiple mock tests. That's what I was telling about, right? A little earlier. That take lots of mock tests so that you know that you're able to manage everything well. So if you feel overwhelmed, pause for a moment and take deep breaths. This can really help you. At times when you just start feeling very, very overwhelmed, when you start feeling very nervous, just stop for a minute. Okay, maybe less than a minute, 30 seconds, and just close your eyes and take deep breaths. It will help you more than you can even imagine. Okay, focus on the task at hand. Read and follow instructions. Yes, super duper important. Read and follow instructions. Okay, if you feel you're stuck, move on to the next question. Okay, sometimes, it may happen that you feel you're stuck, especially this happens when in reading. The reading is going to be like so lengthy that sometimes we feel that, oh my God, I'm stuck. I'm not understanding anything. What do I do? Okay, or I'm just not finding this answer. What do I do now? So just move on to the next question and return later if you have enough time, or fine, you can just let go of it. You cannot stay stuck in one part and let go of all the others, right? Now, this is one good thing. Do the easier questions first and then practice relaxation techniques. That, of course, you'll have to do ahead. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments, or else we are good to go. All right.